Yes, I'm starting to remember the pain I felt watching Mob Psycho Season 1. And what I'm talking about is how quick these episodes fly on by. Like, sitting down and watching this episode felt like 5 minutes. It just disappeared instantly because I was just enjoying the interaction with our favorite con man and Mob, to seeing Dimple actually have a really good role in this episode and him showing his passion, how much he cares about Mob and wants to help him out to not let him down, to the dashing granny at the end. There was just so many good scenes throughout this episode. Like, the entire episode was good that it felt like 5 minutes. And I've said this a lot in different shows and series I reviewed over the years, but that line I say when it feels like 5 minutes holds very true, because when you're getting into something, you're really enjoying it, it's over. It's over instantly. And this, I feel the same way when I'm watching Game of Thrones or something. When I'm sitting down watching an episode of Game of Thrones, even though it's like over an hour long, it feels like the episode's literally only like 5 to 10 minutes, and it's over. It's because you just enjoy it so much. And I'm just starting to remember that pain I felt sitting down watching Season 1 of Mob Psycho because of how good it was. But okay, let's talk about this episode. It's about urban legends. That's the main concept of what Episode 2 of Mob Psycho Season 2 is about. Now, urban legends is something that I think is not very new. Like, it's not new when it comes to anime and manga, and not even the movie or media department. Urban legends are pretty freaking common. Us in the States also have our own urban legends, different ghost stories, demons, monsters, whatever. We all have our own stories to tell, and most likely many of you in your own social groups throughout going to school or whatever, at work, you might have your own urban legends you talk about. But regardless of that, though, it is a common theme. And this is, once again, we get to see this theme in this episode. Now, what makes this a very interesting theme for this episode is because Mob as a character is someone that is out of the loop. He isn't someone that's in the know. He isn't someone that is aware of everything that goes on around him. We know for a fact that he's trying his best to fit in, but as we know from his character development he got at the end of Season 1, he doesn't have to be like everyone else. He can be his own man, and that's what was taught to him, which, you know, you can see that character development, you know, standing true in this episode, you know, Season 2, Episode 2, at the end, when he's like, I thought you said I didn't have to be like everyone else, so I could be my own person. It was to show that Mob was satisfied with being out of the loop. And so this comes into play for this episode. See, the Dragger, one of the main, I guess, antagonists of this episode, or the main threat to this episode, the Dragger is a creature that was created by humans itself. Now, we're not talking about an entity like a spirit or ghost of a deceased person. We're not talking about something like that. We're actually talking about a creature that was imagined into existence. That's what the Dragger was. And this kind of really sparks an interesting little thing you can get from this series, and where potential threats for going onward into this series can come out of nowhere. For instance, the Dragger, it was explained that the entire town, or everybody for a long time, they've been talking about this urban legend called the Dragger. It was this woman that was like this swamp monster, this bog monster that would drag you in and you would just basically die. It's on rainy days that this would happen, and this legend, you know, it could be very creepy, especially if you're by yourself walking down a street, you see just rain all over the place and all that. You know, your mind starts to wander and you start thinking about stuff. I mean, I know when I was a kid and I was watching stuff like Freddy Krueger or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Michael Myers and all that, I remember, you know, my mind wandered. And I know many are going to say, why were you watching that when you're a kid? Don't ask me. I love scary movies when I was growing up. But, your mind just wanders when, you know, you're a kid, or, you know, when you're growing up and your parents tell you certain things. In this case, that's what happened. All these kids that constantly have the story told to them, or their friends talking about it, it created this creature, the Dragger, and brought it into existence. So this thing did not exist until people actually created it, which is scary to think about, because that means if Mob, let's say, hypothetically, was scared of something, like really, really scared of something like this entity or spirit or whatever, it could potentially come into existence, because I'm assuming if there's enough spiritual power or imagination, everybody coming together, it would create it. And that means that someone like Mob, that's really high up there in psychic ability, could create something like this, like that. So that is pretty freaking terrifying. But okay, let's talk about what Mob did with his character development. So, Mob, as we know, he's out of the loop, which is the sole reason to why he was able to defeat the Dragger. Because the Dragger as a creature, because you harbor fear towards it, you're scared of it, it gets stronger, and also you can't really defeat it because you are fearful of it. And Mob, someone that is completely out of the loop, he doesn't fear the creature at all, because he has never heard the story before when he was growing up. He never talked to it to any friends because he really didn't have any friends. So I mean, Mob, he was completely out of the loop when it came to urban legends. In a lot of ways, this is relatable for me. Not in terms of urban legends, but certain, you know, social norms, like music and all that, or up-to-date movies that's going on right now. You know, I'm kind of out of the loop when it comes to stuff like that. I'll be honest. Like, when it comes to the newer movies that come out in these years, the past decade or so, or the music, any type of music, honestly, I may know the song by listening to it, but I don't know the person that made it, or the name of the song. That's pretty much how I am. And I can really relate to Mob in this essence, to where he's like, you know, I'm out of the loop and all that, and, you know, I don't really know or don't really care about the Dragger, and that's kind of how he was able to bring it down. So, it's pretty cool. I do like how Mob in some ways can be relatable for a lot of people watching this episode. Now, let's talk about the fighting with the Dragger versus Shinra/Dimple. I think Shinra is his name. But anyways, the fight. Holy crap. Like, Studio Bones, I know this is, I know you love the series. Like, I know you definitely are passionate about Mob Psycho Season 2, but you gotta chill for a second, okay? Like, this is only episode 2, and you're going all the way in. Like, holy crap, the fighting animation with Dimple/Shinra versus the Dragger was astounding. Like, easily, it set the bar for fighting quality for this year of anime. Like, that was freaking insanely good. Like, seeing how, you know, Dimple was dodging and all that, and you see the flips and stuff going through the entire rainy type bog swamp, and seeing the Dragger running at him, and seeing how each scene flowed to the other scene, it was so good. And just Studio Bones, holy crap, you going in with this adaptation of Mob Psycho 100. I gotta commend you for that. It's some quality that I watched this episode, and if I can expect something like this high quality from the second episode, I cannot imagine what's probably going to happen towards the ending of Mob Psycho Season 2. Because let's be real here, even though I'm an anime only, and many of us are anime onlys, let's be real. There's probably going to be a crazy fight or something towards the end of this season, something major built up to, and with that major fight, it's going to probably be insane, blow our minds, and I feel like if this is just, the beginning, this sets the bar up really high for how good the ending climax for Mob Psycho Season 2 is going to be. Now, okay, dropping that for a second, let's talk about the other major theme, which is about the urban legends, but it's about what Regan was doing, but also Shinra/Regan's relationship. So, we get introduced to a new character, and he is someone that, is a psychic. He is someone that dabbles in the same arts as Regan and tries to make money off of that. As we know, Regan, he's a con man. Yes, he is a good man at the end of the day. We've seen him do many good deeds. Even in this episode, we see him do some good deeds by helping out the dog, washing the dog's face and all that. He's a pretty good dude. Even though he tries to be a cheapskate or a con man, he still is a good guy deep down. He does do what is right in society. In this case, that's what we saw in this episode. Shinra and, Regan's, relationship, their personalities really bounce off each other very well. Because normally when you see a character like Regan, it'd be very hard to have a character really work with him well. To be able to really liven up his character, make him even better than he already is. But somehow Shinra as a character was able to do that, which is impressive. It's very impressive, and that makes me want to see Shinra even more in this series. Like, please, Mob Psycho 100, I want to see more of this character, because he was a really cool character in this episode. I mean, the man is a beast. I mean, yes, Dimple did take control of his body and started fighting, but it's still nice to see that the individual is still really true to his word about being a psychic. He isn't straight up like a faker. He does try to help people out, and I mean, yes, his money prices are a little bit higher than Regan's, but the reason why is because this dude actually knows how dangerous, the spirits and stuff are. Yes, Regan knows too, but this dude has actually been able to see them. He's been able to actually witness them. He could see the Dragger in this episode, which basically shows that he is an individual that is spiritually aware. He's able to use, psychic abilities and stuff. So this does mean that him putting his prices so high up is because he knew his life was on the line. I mean, if you're putting your life on the line, your prices would be pretty high up too. Let's just be honest with each other, okay? If you're doing a business like this and, you're going into death's door, you would definitely have high prices to make sure you get some money out of it if you were to do this. So I don't really fault the man Shinra for having high prices, but I do want to talk about how in this episode, the man got his Achilles heel, like his tendon, snapped. Like, oh my god. I don't even want to know how painful that is. Like, I thankfully have never had to feel that pain before, but I have sprained my foot many times, more times than I can count, and if, you know, that's anything to go by, I can't imagine how painful just your tendon, your Achilles tendon being just cut or just broke. I couldn't imagine the pain. And so seeing the man's tendon just break, it kind of clarifies a couple of things about Dimple. Number one, Dimple, he's able to completely suppress someone's cognitive ability to where they're not aware and they're completely just unconscious. But on top of that, he's able to really use their psychic abilities for his own advantage to be able to win. And we get to see that in this fight between the Dragger and, you know, Dimple. And just seeing how the man felt no pain, like the tendon was cut and all that, I'm just surprised the man wasn't welling in pain in this episode once that happened. I'm just very freaking shocked. So yeah, overall, I think this episode of Mob Psycho 100 Season 2, it goes back to the action section of Mob Psycho. Like, if we're looking at it from a critical point of view, from, you know, episode 1 of Season 2 to now this episode, Episode 1 was to kind of give us a refresher to what happened in Season 1, but also showcasing the character development of Mob and the slice of life aspect, while this episode was wanting to remind us what type of relationship Mob has with Regan and how they help each other out, and how also Mob is just a really good psychic that's able to help others out too, and show us how once again he's out of the loop, but he can get other things done because he's out of this loop. That's what the episode was really about. So with that, I think I'm going to end this video here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, you know, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, Chibi out.